This is Shay Bynes, founder and chief fire igniter of Kingdom Driven Entrepreneur, and this is the KDE Podcast Live. With a beautifully diverse panel of co-hosts, get ready for powerful and fresh perspectives of what it looks like to be a Kingdom Driven Entrepreneur. Let's go.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. Hello, everyone. So glad that you are here with us today. We are here for another episode of the KDE Podcast Live, and we're just going to have a good time today because, you know, sometimes those tech demons try to get in your way and they just mess with you and do all other kind of stuff, but we're here. We are here, and we are glad to be here. I am Latara Venice, and I am one of the hosts, moderator, producer. You know, here I am. Hello, Carol. Here I am, and I'm glad to be here. And I am here with Michelle, Phil, Brandon, and Joy. We are absent Alicia today. She's typically with us, and then Dory does the specialist segment. So that's why you don't see all of us on these days. Okay. All right, everybody. What's going on with you? I'm glad y'all here this week. I'm glad that the weather has gotten better in Oklahoma. We had flooding yesterday. Like, it's been raining that much. What's going on your end? What's happening with you, Michelle, in a new environment this morning, today, this afternoon?
Yeah, afternoon for me. Well, it's hot. That's what's going on. It's hot here in South Florida. So, you know, but I'm prepared. You know, i.e. I only go out during certain hours. Mm-hmm. But I've been working on, well, summer's here, school's about to be out. So I'm working on some trainings for that. And then on my other space, I'm working on actually a workshop for new entrepreneurs on how to position themselves for momentum. So I'm just doing some, I guess, producing myself and enjoying. For me, it's like a little bit of an ease, a little bit of a downtime kind of thing going on as well. So yeah, it's summer's here. We made it. And so, you know, I'm just enjoying it.
It is summer, right? It's like time for kids to get out of school. People have proms. I was like, man, I really am an old mother. I'm not an old woman. I am an old mother, right? Because none of my kids are in school anymore. Like those kids are like out of school, man. Okay, but Michelle, tell me a little bit more about the workshop. I'm interested to know what that workshop looks like.
So for the entrepreneurs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's 10 spiritual and tactical strategies to position yourself for kingdom momentum. So I'm going to be sharing some key strategies, and we're going to be implementing some strategies to get your business moving forward. So whether that's financially, whether that's visibility, whether that's messaging. And so the key for me is that it's spiritual and tactical. So there will be some spiritual components in it, as well as some tactical, practical things that you can do to get your business moving forward. And we're going to be working together on it. So it's not like you sit and watch me. We're doing some things together and watching how God moves through us in our business.
So it's a true workshop.
It's a true workshop.
Just, you know, they come and they listen and write down some notes and go, whoa, I learned a whole lot, and then don't go do nothing with it, right?
That's right. No, we're going to be talking, sharing. There might be some other things. I don't want to give out too much, but yes, there'll be some things going on.
Awesome. Okay. All right. I love that. All right. Brandon.
Yeah, so business-wise, onboarded another client towards the end of last week. So excited about that. And then on the content side, still having a ton of fun there. I think I've talked about it before, but I really enjoy doing I call them the reaction reels, where sometimes I'll agree with what the person is saying, but then other times there's some information that might not be the best or truthful out there. So I like to, in a loving and graceful way, share an alternative perspective to some of the gurus out there, and try to prevent the spread of some of that misinformation. And again, I have a lot of fun doing it. I try to make them funny sometimes as well. So I'll let other people be the judge of whether or not they are or not. But I have a ton of fun doing it. So that's the main things that I've been working on over the last couple of weeks.
I love it. I love your reels. So I'm a fan, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Brandon's reels. Y'all got to watch them. They are cool. They are funny. And I just go, man, I wish I was that creative. But
we're all creative
when it comes to the reels, right? So, but yeah, that's good. That's cool. Exciting, 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 exciting. Miss Joy.
Hi, Miss Latara. I I have been sharing your videos, Brandon, with my husband, believe it or not. And I'm like, check this out. Look at what he's doing. And he's impressed. So there's that. It takes a lot to impress him.
Take it.
So I have been working on two things, one of which was because of you, Latara, and you already know this, but I just started Joyful Communication Chats, Marketing with Integrity. I had the first session yesterday, was a Facebook Live. I had not communicated via that medium before, so it was very different. And I have to tell you guys, I actually studied four, come to think of it. I studied Michelle, I studied Latara, I studied Brandon, and I studied Shay to see how you guys had a conversation with the camera, right? So it's a little bit different when you're talking to other people that you can see. Mm-hmm. And so that set me up hopefully for success. Yesterday's discussion was on the concept of balancing the conversation, the marketing conversations that you have between truth and persuasion, right? Because there is manipulative persuasion, but there's also truthful persuasion. So that was a whole thing. And I'll do more of those on a weekly basis going forward as the Lord leads. And then the other piece I've been working on, and I'm going to give birth to this hopefully soon, is launching my next workshop. It'll be similar to you, Michelle, hands-on, interactive. It's called Joyful Landing Pages that Connect with Integrity. And so helping people actually learn how to write the content and design and set them up in a way that will hopefully breed some success.
Awesome. Well, I didn't even have to ask her to go into it further. She went into it.
But Joy, what I want to know is, so did you enjoy, talking to the camera, as you say, or?
I did enjoy it. I think it's a little bit interesting to have to look at the chat and then to keep going even when you get crickets, like nobody's there, right? Yeah. It was like, wait a minute now, because you guys, we bounce off of each other, right? And we kind of chomp at the bit to interject and exchange, and we have a real conversation. It was different not having people constantly in that stream of dialogue. And I think that's a slight adjustment for me, but that's okay. I'll get there.
That's a huge adjustment, because it took me a while. I used to tell people, listen, I need y'all to talk to me. And every now and then I still say, I like the engagement, right. Talk to me, say something. And, usually I'll get, well, I'm just watching, it's so good. I'm just watching. Okay, well, can you say something back? You'll get used to it though, but you did good. You did good. You did really well. I enjoyed it. It was just it's natural to you. And I think that you need to understand that it's natural to you and who you are. Joyful communicator.
I appreciate that. It's interesting. I was telling Mike Schuster, who is an igniter as well, behind the scenes, I said, there's this little monkey that likes to come in and wrap its hands around my brain and go, this is not natural. You don't belong here. But once you get talking, he kind of disappears. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
yeah, that's good. That's good. Love it. Thank you for sharing, Joy. And I love your hair like that, by the way.
Thank you.
Listen, coming from the fashion chick here, it's gorgeous. It is gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you.
I really, really like that hair on you, Mr. Bynes.
Hey,
You're in your wife's office, so
yeah,
I know
you
what
know
that
what that
means.
means.
But
That means she's gone, and I need to be closer to home to handle all the things. So yeah, the wife took off this morning. I dropped her off at the airport. She's heading to California. But what's going on with me? Like Michelle said, it is hot down here. And yesterday, I found myself having to refill the pool a little bit because it had evaporated quite a bit. What's going on with business? Well, I've been exploring the ideal of moving to a new office. So I looked at a facility that had multiple rooms, and not sure if I'm ready to make that jump yet, but I'm doing it. I'm trying to grow, trying to do the things that I need to grow. And so that's kind of what's going on my end.
love it, love it, love it, love it. Yes, Shay is in my hometown, and even though people tell me I can't call LA my hometown anymore because I've been here so long, that's still my hometown. I was born and raised, lived there 32 years in my stomping grounds. So even though I don't look the same when I go, because I grew up in the area where the football stadium is. Who plays there? The Rams? Who's there? The Raiders? Whoever is in California.
It's the Rams. Yeah.
It's
LA
the Rams.
Rams
I
now.
had it right. Okay. Yeah, I lived in that area when it was the airport, not the airport, the racetrack. That's where I used to go to the racetrack, and now it's a stadium. I can't even go bet. Yes, I used to bet on the horses. Okay. Me and my daddy. That's good. That's cool. Yeah, I can always tell, Phil, you have this you have a different flow or look on your face when you are in your wife's office and she is out of town. There's a different
Maybe it's the lighting. Maybe it's just the lighting. We could blame it on the
no,
lighting.
it's
Right?
a different aura. It's like, oh, my turn is coming. I'm going out of town.
One day I told her, I was like, you not gonna like it when I start disappearing on you and you home with the girls by yourself. You don't know what that's like.
Oh goodness, that is hilarious. What is going on with me? Well, at home, this gardening. This is that time of year. I'm always gardening. You will find me in my garden, and you'll find me mowing the lawn lately. I just mowed the other day. It rained, and the lawn is like, "Hey, did you miss me?" I'm like, no, I just mowed you the other day. So I won't tell folks what I said about people who mow lawns. But that's one of the healthiest things you should be able to do. And if you have a lawn mowing business, you should be in some really good health. Like you really. That's a whole workout, y'all. I turn on my watch for it. I turn my watch on for my steps, for the calories, to see how much I burn. You burn a lot. I'm telling you. So that's what's going on here. Still getting used to Brayhan not being here and being like sole caretaker. It's a whole thing. But I discovered something the other day. I took my mom to the farmer's market on Saturday morning, and we just hung out for a couple of hours, and she just wanted to sit more than anything else after she purchased. And so it was kind of like, they're going to do this more often. I think I saw caregiving different on Saturday. I saw the fun in being a caregiver, where usually I see the frustration in being a caregiver. So it was a whole different flow. Business, just kind of shifting and moving and letting God customize a thing for me. Still customizing. Just relaunched a podcast that was like, I hadn't had a show on that like 3 years. So I relaunched Soulside Chats, which I'm super excited about. And I have launched a new program for women executives and CEOs, and it's called Flourish and Lead. And I'm super excited about that, so that they can really learn how to balance with lead with purpose and really live with joy, because those are two missing components for women executives and CEOs. I'm really moving in this thing, Joy. When you said that broken piece to me, I was like, well, okay, God, yeah, I get it.
That's awesome.
Got to really move in this. So yeah, so that's what's going on with me. And that's what's going on. Did I get everybody? I got Brandon, I got Michelle, I got Phil, I got Joy, and I got Latara. I got all of us. I got all of us, right? So as you all were talking about your businesses, the different things that are happening in your life, and I could hear some, especially I think it was Michelle. Usually Michelle always kind of brings this thought of, what is God speaking to me in this season? What is he saying to me now? What's the conversations we've been having? So let's look at that a little bit. What are the conversations that God has been having with you? And it's not always, I want to say this as we're thinking, and I want to say this to the audience, it's not always relevant to your business, but it's always relevant to where God is moving and shifting in your life and how he's moving in the advancement of the kingdom and what he's looking for us to do. Because sometimes, and this is where I am, maybe you guys are here too, sometimes where God has me speaking is not where he has me working. Mm. And so I have to show up in the way that he tells me to speak, right? It's like, So where are you guys at?
Oh, for me in the now, there's three things I'm hearing: be strong, courageous, and faithful to obey. And not just in business, but in all areas. And I've definitely been in a season of, some of it is stretch, some of it is redevelopment, some of it's refinement. And I'm gonna tell you, for me, it was like, am I still here? Like, am I still going through some of these things? But I understand that it is so necessary for where we're going. And there's this sense of, we're going somewhere with this. So hang on, we're going somewhere. Press on, we're going somewhere. And so with that, because I feel like I've surrendered to, okay, we're going somewhere. Now I'm starting to find some joy and happiness in this season, where, I'm updating some websites. And whenever you update websites, a lot of times you have to revisit the copy and look at, like, what are you presenting, and are you presenting it? What, all that stuff. And at first I was like, I can't believe I got to do this. But now it's like, I get to do this. And so for me, that's where I'm at, where I'm like, okay, it's almost like, let's play. Let's play. Let's see where we're going. Let's see what we're developing. Let's see what we're doing. And so there's a flexibility and a freedom that comes with that. But at the core of it, it really is, be strong, be courageous, because sometimes it feels a little shaky and a little scary. Be courageous, and then be faithful to obey. So be faithful with what I've given you and what I've told you to do. Stay the course, even though the course doesn't look like it looked last year or the year before that. Stay the course. So that's what I'm getting now in this season. And one other thing I also am getting is, with all the, I don't know if the right word is unrest or the unsettling, all the craziness that is happening. I was trying to be nice, but all the craziness that's happening out there, you know what I see? I see opportunity. I see opportunity for God's people to show up in their different ways. So it's like, for me, it's almost like the crazier it gets, the crazier story, the crazier situation, I'm like, they just need Jesus. So which one of us is going to step in there and and be the light? Mm-hmm. Which one of us is going to step in there and be the salt? So that's where I am right now.
That's good. I love that. Thanks for sharing, Michelle. That's really good. See, she always brings these perspectives, and you just be like, that's really good. Anybody else? Or do you guys want to tap into what Michelle said?
Go ahead, Brandon.
Well, I was going to say, without stealing Michelle's word of momentum, I feel like I've talked about that on the podcast almost this entire year, and maybe to the end of last year, where I just feel like there's some momentum happening in my business, and sometimes I can almost get caught up in why are things not happening maybe as fast as I would like, because as we all know, things don't always happen as quickly as we would prefer them to all of the time. So I think that's been a really good reminder. But then also, I think that something that ties really well with momentum too is that consistency piece. So instead of just getting, oh, why are things not happening faster? What's my next step? What should I be focused on? What should I be intentional in this season? And again, a lot of that for me, at least right now, is going to be on the consistency piece. So anytime that I'm like, oh, like, why are things not happening as fast? There's momentum. There's evidence of momentum, and then also that consistency piece, and that continued partnership with God helps during that time too.
That's good. That's good. That consistency piece is key to so much. and it's learning what consistency looks like for you too, right?
Yes.
Because it looks different for every person. And it all depends on what's going on in your life and what that looks like. I mean, Brandon is married. He has responsibility to his wife. He doesn't have children. He's not a caretaker. You know what I'm saying? So you have to look at all those different things to understand what consistency looks like. So you show up consistent in whatever that looks like for you. And it changes from time to time. So just be consistent. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I think that's so encouraging too, because you hear, again, different gurus. We'll just use social media as an example. You have to post every single day. If you're not posting every single day, you're going to get left in the dust. But we might not be called to be posting every single day for all the reasons that you just mentioned, Latara. So it really is so important. I just wanted to really emphasize what you said of what does consistency look like for you? Because if you just try to force something, that's going to get you into the grind, and it's probably not going to be successful anyways, and you're going to get exhausted and burnt out. So that's the worst case scenario. So I love your question. What does consistency look like for you in this season?
Yeah, that's good. I think that's important to bring up, because we look at other people and how they're consistent, right? Like somebody will say, you should post every day. I don't have time for that. Some days my mother's memory is like, well, if she having a bad memory day, I can't be too far. I can't be doing too much. I can't, so it all varies. People want me to hang out now that Brayhan gone, and you want to go hang out, and you want to go, can you come do this with me this weekend? I'm like, I have a whole mama. Brayhan is gone. I can't just leave my house now. I have to rethink, talk to Brayhan. Brayhan got a job. Do you got to work this weekend? Because if not, can you come stay with your granny? There's things to think about. Those are things to think about. I can't come hang out at your club. I can't do that. I have friends who own clubs. Well, you can come to the club now. No.
I'm sorry. What kind of club are we talking about, Latara? I'm just curious. You brought it up.
I have friends who own clubs where you go hang out, listen to music, dance.
Okay.
Yeah. I have friends who own clubs. Yes, ma'am. Don't be thinking bad about me, y'all.
No, I'm not. I'm actually really interested. I almost when I visit you, I want to go visit your club, the club.
Well, you let me know. I'll take you.
You may not be thinking bad about her, Michelle, but I am.
Whatever, Phil Barnes. Whatever.
I have to wait till I see it, Phil. I have to wait. I'm holding off. I'm waiting.
She's holding the judgment as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Preserving it for later.
Oh gosh. Well, let's just go on saunter over to Mr. Bynes then. What is God speaking to you about in this season?
Well, he's speaking to me about the big three of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And as I was pondering them, I'm gonna have a conversation with Shay Bynes soon on her podcast about understanding. But what he was showing me is how understanding is kind of a catalyst for knowledge and a catalyst for wisdom. And so a lot of times we think about knowledge, wisdom, and understanding as being kind of the same thing. But what I was seeing is how, you have to use understanding and apply it to your knowledge to get to the point of wisdom. You have to use understanding and apply it to your wisdom to get to a higher level of wisdom, right? And so I'm just thinking about that, and I'm trying to, look at the scriptures and see if it measures up the way that it's processing in my head. But that's what he's been speaking to me about, and how that affects our business and our relationships and all the things, in our life, right?
That's interesting. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding. right? Yeah. Understanding is so key to knowledge and wisdom. I can't wait for you to have that conversation. So since when you come now, when you come, just tell the spirit, say, help me to make it plain for the people, because
Mm.
sometimes, I can take it to another level, Lord. So help me to make it plain.
Help me make it plain, Lord. Help me
Help me
not
make
be
it
up in Mars. I'm like, what is that alien talking about?
Oh my goodness. Oh goodness. It used to be a time when I would have to kind of listen to what Phil said and really let it digest. But now I can gather it because I've been around him enough. And I think we talked about that before. He talked about how one time he couldn't even listen to me. Why? I don't know. Because I'm worth listening to. But it was like I couldn't do it. But as he got to know me better, then he was able to, and that's fine. That's fine, because it was at one time when I didn't like his wife, but I love her now. That's like my best friend. So Oh gosh.
Different seasons of life. Yes.
Different seasons. What about you, Joy? Anything?
Well, let me pull on that thread. I mean, there's things that Phil has said, and I think all of us have said at one point in time that I'm still chewing on. I mean, when we say things that God has placed on our heart, that could be a seed that is planted, and we chew on it, and we water it, and we dissect it, and we figure out ways to apply it. But Phil says things on a deep level a lot of times, and I can find myself months later, like the thing where he was talking about what organism are we in the body, and he took it all the way down to this molecular thing, and I was just like, whoa, mind blown. Okay, I'm still chewing on that. You said that years ago. So I'm just saying. So there's that. So what is God saying to me? Sitting here listening to you guys and trying to synthesize what the Lord has been saying, because he's been dropping a lot. One is going with his flow. I was hearing the commentary around not going as fast as I want, but the thing of it is it's not about how fast I want it to go. It's how fast he wants it to go, and what he has to do to me in the process to get me to where I'm headed. So that's been part of it. There's been this ongoing season of momentum and multiplication. And for me, what that looks like is boldly teaching and challenging and encouraging people, but then also getting from behind the scenes, similar to the joyful communications chats part of that, right? And having those bold conversations with people that most people think about, but they don't ever discuss. And so that's where he's got me right now. It's interesting. I don't share everything that he presents to me, because sometimes I'll think it's a nugget that I'm supposed to share with the world. And he's like, no, sit on that. That was just for you. Right. So anyway, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's good. I love that. I love that you take the time to say, is this for me to share or not? Because there's some people I'll be like, God ain't told you to come tell everybody that. That was for you. I mean, if every other post is like, God said to tell you this, and God, I'm like going, nah, bro, nah, sis, some of that it's for you. So I love that you ponder those things, like, I ponder what Phil says, ponder what the Lord said. You ponder those things, and then you speak as God says. And I think in this season too, something that came to mind when you were talking is that I think we're in a season where, we were in a period of, and we're still there, really understanding God's grace and what it is, and how, how it flows and how it works. Right. But I think we're in this period, and I would love to hear Phil's take on this, of where we are really learning how to tie in what grace and righteousness are together, because we have to start speaking some truth that people are not. We've been in this, grace, God is love, God is love, but righteousness comes with that. And so what does that look like for you? Right. Because one of the things God's been speaking to me about is addiction, like our addiction. He was like, my people are too addicted. Mm-hmm. They are addicted to food. They are addicted to sex. They are addicted to television. They are addicted to social media. They are addicted to vanity, right? And it's a message that I'm having to deliver in a different kind of way. and it's like, whoa. And that's where this whole elevated being comes from, because he's like, I'm really ready for them to really tie into my mind and be more like Christ, like they say they want to be, and to have the mind of Christ. And so there's this righteousness, this message of righteousness with grace that we have to begin to deliver. And so when you think about Joy, the way you delivered it yesterday, Joy, was very graceful, but it was like, look, you got to be ethical in how you do these things. You need some integrity.
Right.
And so the excuse of, people can no longer use the excuse of well, God forgives me. Okay, yeah, he does. But there's righteousness in how you are supposed to behave and move. And so that's how he's been talking to me. And this addiction piece has been really heavy, as I'm like talking about food and how sick we are. And that shouldn't be God's children. But it's because of how we are addicted to the things that we eat and what we do to our bodies.
Latar, if I could hop in for a second, you brought to mind a quote that I actually saw you pinged on from my pastor this weekend. And I think it speaks to this. Pastor Daryl Black from my church said, too many of us want the benefits of looking like we walk with Christ, but we don't want to go through the process of transformation. And to me, that hits the nail on the head, right? Those addictions get in the way because we want to say we're all this with the Lord, but we don't want to let go of those things that we're addicted to, which is part of the transformation process.
That's good. That's good. That's good. What are your thoughts on that, Phil? I want to hear.
My thoughts around what, Latara?
The whole grace and righteousness thing that I was talking about. You don't play with me.
Well, I mean, I think grace is what God gives to everybody, but the righteous piece is what shows that you're mature, right? And so, like, there's only so much you can give someone that's not mature. I love my kids, and I want to give them access to everything that I have, right? But if they don't know how to rightly handle or rightly divide the word of truth or rightly utilize the gift that I have for them, it's going to wind up hurting them. So if we try to operate in the things that God has given us grace for without progressively learning how to be right with those things, it'll end up hurting us. And so that's when he kind of withholds some stuff from us, or bad things happen. You have the grace to eat whatever you want. But if you don't take the wisdom and realize I'm not supposed to eat candy every day, I can eat candy. That's part of life. And God wants me to have the good things of life. But, if I understand what's right for my body, I'm not going to eat candy every day. And so I think it's kind of like it's that it plays off of, you have the ability to do all things, but not all things are beneficial for you. As I think that's Paul who says that, right? And so I think too often, okay, I'm gonna say it like this. I'm gonna be plain. I think sometimes when we're immature in a certain area, we lean too much on the grace, right? And so if you're immature in a certain area and you just want to do what you want to do, think about a little 5-year-old. Well, I want it, right? Then, well, my mommy said I can have it, right? That's how the immature act, right? But those that have grown into maturity, someone brings or presents something that they didn't know before, and they're like, oh, okay, you're saying I shouldn't do. Well, help me understand why. What? Oh, okay, I get it. And then they grow, right? And so I hope that made sense.
That made sense to me. That made sense to me. Michelle, I see something on you. I see something in your brain.
Yeah, well, when you're talking about maturity, wow, there's a number of things that come to my brain, but what I'll say, what tied to me the most is when we walk in immaturity, because we're afraid to step into it, or we're afraid to turn away from certain things or certain people, or surrender our mindset to things. It blocks the momentum that God has for you. It's a big time momentum blocker, a lack of maturity, because he has, for everyone here, everyone who's watching, a plan, a design for us, but not just us, for the kingdom of God in partnership with us. And so he has this plan. And because sometimes, and there's times I've been immature, definitely, where, because I'm turning to the left or the right, or I see where you're taking me, God, and I don't know if I want to go there, and it's going to hurt. It's not going to be comfortable. And what if, and all of this. And so what ends up happening, God's like, okay, I'll wait. Or he'll like, well, you know what? I'm not going to force you, but my will still needs to be done. So I know brother, sister over here, daughter, son who will do it, and it still needs to get done. And so when I think about that, maturity piece is so very key. And one thing I've even found in Igniters, in KDE, is that we, if you hang in there, you're going to have to, your maturity is going to start to have to develop, or you're going to have a really hard time.
That's
good. Yeah, because if you're new, okay, we'll give you the milk, but at some point, you're gonna have to start moving, start changing, start doing, or you're just not going to. That sounds kind of harsh for some people, but if you have an ear, hear what I'm saying. But there's benefits on the other end. There's benefits to the maturity, not just for yourself, but for the body, or for the community that you're in. So that's what was going on in my head. Maturity. It's deep, but it's worth it.
So she telling some of us, I will say some of y'all, but she telling some of us that you have to learn how to chew your meat, okay? Because eventually God is like, look, the milk is dried up. Here's the meat. Do you like, you ready for this meat? Because you keep trying to drink on that milk and you're beyond that. It's like a baby who knows how to walk but continues to crawl.
Right. Or you know how, I don't know how some of you had pacifiers, but at some point, mom and dad is like, okay, enough of that. Where's Passy? Passy's gone.
Right. Yeah.
So this is the phase right now. We got to develop. We got to mature.
Yeah.
Because I can't leave you the same.
Yeah. Wow, that's good. And it brought up a question. Oh, Phil has something.
No, I was going to say, it looks like Joy's trying to jump in.
Oh, Joy. Okay, go on, Joy.
Thank you, Phil. Yeah, the analogy that came to mind immediately as Michelle was talking was one I've chewed on for years as a personal application, and it's when I feel like I'm waiting and things aren't happening. In my mind, what I see is I'm sitting in a waiting room in a doctor's office, but instead of it being a doctor's office, it's God's waiting room. And you know how you sit there and you just wait endlessly, especially if your appointment's later in the day because everything got bumped back, right? And you're just waiting and waiting. And in the olden days, we used to have magazines, right? And the magazines would be like 10 years old with really outdated information. And so sitting in God's waiting room, it's like, Lord, it's the same reading materials over and over again. Why? And it's until you learn the lessons that I've taught, I'm not going to give you new magazines to read, and you're going to continue to sit in that waiting room. That's the analogy that came to mind for me.
Woo, that hit home for me. Y'all stop speaking up. Get off my street, right? Because that's the season I've been in. Is God's been like, I told you guys, like he's been customizing what I do, and he keeps telling me, go back to basics. Go back to basics. What basics? Go back to the basics. And I'm like, what's the basics? And he keeps showing me Color Your Soul. And when Joy said that, I don't send people to you for business. I send them to you because they're broken. I was like, woo, okay, whoa. It was hard for me to receive that, right? But I had to mature into the, you know what? Look, if you don't shift your business totally into this soul care stuff and do this thing without worrying about whether or not you can help somebody build their business, because you know how to help people build their business. But if you don't do what I'm telling you to do, you're going to keep on repeating the lesson. You're going to keep on wondering why this launch failed, why this book didn't sell, why they're not joining this network. You're going to keep on wondering, but I need you to move in what I'm telling you to move in. And when I began to do that, I began to see not doors open. They were already open. I was like, I've been waiting on you to walk through them. But right, you had to wait. I never closed them. I've always had them open for you, but you had to wait because you had to grow up. and simply receive the truth of your identity and where I'm moving you in this season. So I'll tell y'all, I get on here with y'all. Y'all take me to whole other places. I be going.
And there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there, believers out there who are going around the same track
Yeah.
over and over and over. And the season to get out of that is now.
Yeah.
Not 5 years from now, for some, not even next year. It is now.
Yeah.
But it's up to you. It's up to us. Because
Yeah.
what do you say, Latara? The door is open. It was always open. But I'm just waiting for you. I'm waiting for you to catch a clue.
Yeah.
and then surrender and then get in alignment and obey. So that's that obedience piece is so very key to moving forward in God.
Yeah.
To advancing the kingdom of God. You can't do it without it. You just can't be doing it all your own way. It's just not going to work.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not. And that has been the lesson and you listen to people, right? For me, it's been like, well, the money is in if you teach people how to do email marketing, you do this and you do this. Okay, let me see what happens. And I put out this course on email marketing, this whole 21 day or whatever, walk with me. Every day you'll get a tip. And you only get a few people to sign up. What happened to all the people who said, oh, I'd sign up for that? But then when I do something like, I don't know, a soul detox, I get all of these people. Like, it's like God, you said a clue. God keeps giving you the clues. Like, do you not see where the people are flocking, Latara? Are you paying attention to what that looks like? You keep trying to make this work, right? And it's like you keep sucking on that pacifier. It's a hole in there now. You just sucking air. You're gonna get a whole bunch of gas and you're gonna be burping, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because when I think about kind of what you guys shared, you Michelle, when you talked about how we have to get off the milk. The reason why God wants us off the milk and He wants us on solid food is because the milk can't sustain us where He's trying to take us, right? And so it's one of those things. If we can continue to get the milk, and then there's only so far we can go, right? Because like what God does in our businesses and in our life is always cyclical. But if we confuse the cyclical nature of how He's growing us as being on the same track, we'll stay on the same track, right? It's cyclical just because it looks like you're starting over but you're starting over from a new elevation,
right?
A new height. You're from a new level of glory, right? And so, but that takes some understanding, and you're not going to get the understanding without being obedient. Because like it takes you being obedient and showing that you're a true child of God, and then He'll reveal something as you're being obedient, right? That's where that righteousness piece comes into play. Because if we don't walk out what He's showing us, then He can't give us the next piece of the puzzle because we wouldn't understand it anyways.
Right.
But when we actually follow what He's trying to tell us to do, and we go back to Him and get understanding on, okay, so this is what I think I'm hearing from you. And so you want me to do it like this? Yes, do it like that. Then there's something that's revealed in you doing it the way that He is instructing you to do it. That's going to be a piece of the puzzle that you need for the next step. But if you go on without that piece of the puzzle, you'll get to the next step and you'll be like, I don't know what to do here. I don't have anything for this. You never picked up that piece of the puzzle. And that came in that whole obedience section there. And so that's why righteousness is you got the grace. He's giving you grace for stuff, but if you're not obedient, then you're not going to be righteous. You don't have the right to do certain stuff. You're made the righteousness of God in Christ Jesus, but there's still an application of righteousness that needs to happen.
Yeah.
An application of righteousness, which means there's a part that we play in this thing for maturity and for righteousness, which in simplest terms means do the right thing. Like, in its simplest terms, do the right thing, right? Have integrity, be ethical. Even when we're thinking of, we're here for business, even when we're running our businesses, like Joy talks about the content and, be ethical in that. Forget about what it looks like when Guru Cindy Lou does it, right? Forget that. What does it look like when God tells you to do it? That's the right thing for you to do, and that's the right way for you to move in. But for a lot of us, I think the struggle with the whole righteousness piece, ooh, this is going to be heavy, is we have to have relationship with God, and we struggle with relationship. We want the religion, but we struggle with the relationship part, right?
Mhm.
And you learn, and here's the thing, you learn that when you are in relationship with God, that you want to be righteous. Like you really want to do, like,
Mhm.
I really want to do this, and not to please him, but to simply do the right thing because you understand who he is as your father and the
Mhm.
things that he wants for you and desires for you. And then obedience becomes something that is, for me, it's fun to be obedient. I don't know if that's any, for anybody else. Sometimes it's a struggle to answer the call to obedience. But when you walk in it and you realize that, wait a minute, he's not punishing me. This is not a duty. This is really a joy. I enjoy moving in this vein. I enjoy flowing with him like this. Because then you begin to realize it's the story he wrote for me anyway. So why would I
Mhm.
not?
Right. I was even thinking there is safety for me in obedience. We
Mm,
talk about being safe and secure in his arms. And so I found obedience to be like a safe, comforting place.
mhm.
Like you said, he's already written the story. He already knows what we're supposed to do now, around the corner, down the street. And so because I trust in that, and the more, here's the key also, the more you practice obedience and do it, the easier it becomes the next time around, and the time after that, and the time after that. The more we follow his voice, the more we step out and do our path, the easier it becomes, to where, when the wrong path or the wrong path shows up, you don't even want it. You recognize it's wrong and you don't even want it. You're like, no, I'm going to stick right with God, because
Mhm.
it's been working all of this time.
Yeah, that's good. Woo. Okay, man. Okay. This was like a hot seat. Oh, anybody else got anything around this? Like what God is speaking to you about? This is good. I'm like Carol, because I was looking to go a whole other way, and we started this whole conversation about where God is working, and then here come righteousness, and we just kept going and going and going. But it's necessary, right? It is necessary for how we are to be as entrepreneurs, because we try to separate too many times our belief from our business, and you can't do that. They have to integrate together. Joy?
So the thing that keeps coming to mind as we're pulling on this thread in so many different ways is that I think we as humans run the risk of looking for worldly blessing instead of godly blessing. And when we look for worldly blessing, multiply and increase this financially, I need the money because that's the oxygen for my business, instead of godly blessing of, oh Lord, how are you stretching and growing me? And how can you use me and the talents you've given me to impact the lives of others? Is two totally different things. And you don't crave the godly blessing when you're not spiritually mature, right?
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a matter of okay, so this is what came to my mind is when you're immature in a certain area, not as a whole, because we're all immature in certain areas, right?
Right.
When we're
Mm-hmm.
immature in a certain area, we want our own way. Why do I have to do this, right? We're leaning to our own understanding, right? So when we're immature in a certain area, it becomes very easy for us to lean to our own understanding. But as we mature through experience or whatever with God in a certain area, we become more mature. Then we're not satisfied with our understanding. We won't rest until we get a higher perspective or his understanding on something. Help me understand this. Because you put me here and I see there's a pattern here. And there's something I'm supposed to be doing. So help me understand this, Lord. What's the next thing that you're trying to, because you keep saying this, and I can easily do this, but you keep saying leave that alone and do this. So help me see it from your perspective, right? And the more mature we are, the more we ask that question, the more we get that level of understanding, and it becomes easier to walk and flow in that. And I just, before I end, I just want to say I probably got 2 minutes. I got to get out of here and go get Malia. So if I disappear, that's what's up.
Don't worry. I didn't kick him out. Don't think I kicked him out. Okay. Don't think I kicked him out. Sometimes I want to, like take him off screen, but I don't. But I don't, but that's good. This whole maturity piece is so key. What do you think, Brandon? You've been soaking it all up. What do you think?
I've been chewing. No, I think even with what Phil just said there, there's this maturity piece leads to that accessibility. So I think something that he brought up earlier, where he obviously wants the best for his kids, but I think of the analogy of even finances, where you wouldn't want a 15-year-old to have access to $1 million to do whatever they would want with, right? And in fact, in good financial planning, what you would have set up is something called a trust, and it doesn't matter what the details are, but then you could, because you want what's best for the recipient of that, you could structure it in a way that, hey, at certain levels, at certain ages or maturity levels, they get more access to that money, where they could buy their first house or invest in their first business. So I think there's a parallel there of, as we mature, we do get the ability to get more access to things. And again, that money was just the example there, but that could be the wisdom or the knowledge, the right relationships, because we all hear the stories of people who their business increases too quickly, or they get too much money too quickly, and it ends up being their downfall. Right. So I think that's that maturity and access piece kind of stuck out to me.
Yeah. Maturity and access. Yes. You want more access, grow up.
It is.
But that's about stewardship then, right? Because in order for us to really mature, we have to receive responsibility for things, which means we have to become responsible, right? God has me on this thing about miracles, and I've been like researching and reading through the miracles in the Bible, and I've said it once and I'm gonna say it again and probably again too. There's not one miracle that happened in the Bible where somebody didn't have to take action for the miracle to manifest.
That's right.
Yeah. Also that, we sometimes can sit back, or, maybe someone hears what Grace Over Grind or Kingdom Driven Entrepreneur means, just sitting back on your couch all day and waiting for God to bless your business. Yeah. And unless he has very explicitly said that, which I haven't talked to someone who he has told that to, and that's not what we're talking about, right? There's that action piece. Yeah. There's that movement. Like, we're partnering. It's a partnership with God. We're not just sitting back. So there's that stewardship piece there.
That goes to the statement I've said many times. There's a big difference between knowing and doing, right? There's a gap there. Yes. And you have to move from the knowing part to the doing part for things to come out.
That's
right?
good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's good. That's really good. Michelle, you got something. I see it all over.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So I want to touch, I feel like I'm changing the subject a little bit, but not really. So when you were talking about maturity and responsibility and maturity and access, right? Mm-hmm. And so, sometime this year, I'm not great with time, months ago or something like that, I was asking God the question of, what are we doing? And his response to me is, yeah, what are we doing? And I was like, oh, so it's like that, But what was happening was, because I began to say, now, what does this mean? What are you saying to me? And what I was sensing and hearing was, okay, you're not a babe anymore. Mm-hmm. Okay, you're not 5, you're not 15, and so therefore, there's things that I've taught you. There's things we've walked through. There's lessons that you now understand, and I want to see what you're going to do with those things. I want to see where your heart is. So yeah, I want to hear from you. What are we doing? And how do we work this? How do we walk this out? And for me, initially it was like, okay, here we go. And so it's not that God ever left me. It's not that his voice wasn't there, but he was allowing me to grow stronger, deeper, and to be able to actually walk in faith with some of the things that I've learned during my lessons, my mistakes and my victories, my challenges and my failures, all of that. And let me just say, maturity doesn't mean perfect.
Amen.
That's not what maturity is. Oh, you know all the things. That's not what maturity is. Oh, you're so perfect. That's not it. But there is a history that you have with God where you're walking things out, and he can trust you to represent him. He can trust you to walk in righteousness, to walk in integrity. He can trust that and even if you don't have it perfect, he can trust, well, I know she or he is going to come to me and seek me and seek my will. And so that also comes from maturity, this responsibility, but also the access. All of that comes together.
Yeah, that's good. That's so good. As you were talking, I thought about when I did the very first Color Your Soul retreat, and it almost didn't happen because sponsors began pulling out. And I was like, okay, Lord, I don't know where this money is going to come from. I don't know what we're going to be doing. And it was at this time when I understood a way that God speaks to me that some people may go, oh my God, he speaks to you that way. But he speaks to me through what y'all call secular music. Okay.
Okay.
I don't call it secular music, all right? He speaks to me through that. And I remember when this retreat happened, and I was leaning over. I had a Chase Lounge at the time, and I was leaning over, kind of laid back like a little kid, looking at my empty at the time. That's all we had. We didn't have nothing in my dining room. Like right now, my dining room is my office. None of that. And it was empty. And God was like, so you tell me what you want to do. And I said, I could have a retreat right here. Like I could have it right here. My dining room is big enough to be able to put some chairs, to be able to do this. And when I went to sleep that night, there's a song by a gentleman named Tevin Campbell. One of my favorite singers. Some of y'all be like, who is Tevin?
Sing it. I know exactly who it is. Sing it, guitar.
He had a song called Tell Me What You Want Me to Do. And when I went to sleep that night and I woke up, I heard the lyrics. Tell me what you want me to do. My love is always here for you. So tell me what you want me to do. And that song kept playing and playing that morning. I didn't wake up and I didn't hear, you and me got history. We go way, way back. No, I heard, tell me what you want me to do. And I was like, I want you to help me do that retreat. I want to make it happen. I got women coming. Okay. And then we just flow from there. What's the next step? What are we doing with this? Where are we going? How are we moving in this? Because you said something, when you begin to mature, there's a trust that God has that you're going to move in what he has for you anyway. Because your desires, delight yourself in the desires of in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. It goes in alignment with what he has for you anyway. So then that also takes away the responsibility, the irresponsibility that we have when we say, well, I'm just going to wait on God. And God be sitting back going, tell me what you want me to do.
I think that should be freeing for so many people, that there's not always only one right next step necessarily too, right? I mean, if God is giving us that trust, obviously it needs to be in alignment with him. But that means that there could be multiple options and all of them could be great. Or I think sometimes we can almost get in this, paralysis by analysis by paralysis, whatever way the saying goes, because we're like, oh, I have to get this 100% perfect every single time. Like, oh, I don't know if I had 100% confirmation on this next smallest step. It's like God's giving us a bunch of different options because he trusts us oftentimes. So just take that next step and continuously partner with him. And even if and when we don't get it perfectly right, he will gently course correct us. But we can't get course corrected if we're stuck. We're planted.
Yeah. Good. That's good. Joy, you got something, and I want to kind of end with these bracelets and tell y'all something about these bracelets.
Okay. As I was listening to this, the thing that kept coming to mind, we're talking about spiritual maturity, but spiritual maturity also comes from having spiritual wisdom, right? And the way that we get spiritual wisdom is because we ask him for it, and he will liberally give it to us. But a lot of times we lack that wisdom, not only because we haven't asked for it, but because we may have forgotten to have the respect, the awe, and the fear for the Lord that we need to have, and started relying on our own selves, thinking we got it, we're good, and we'll just come to you when we need help. Right. But if you have the right fear for the Lord, the right respect for him, and lean into him and say, hey, Daddy God, I can't do this without your help, your guidance. Give me your spiritual wisdom and discernment. That takes that maturity to a totally different level.
Right. Yeah, it does. It does. And sometimes in that conversation, he'll tell you, you already got it. Didn't I already give it to you? Right. Go apply it. I remember him telling me that one day, Latara, go apply the wisdom that you keep giving to other people. You got it. Right. But that takes maturity. But guess where that comes from? Here we go. Relationship. relationship, right? We're talking about this whole maturity level and really knowing when God is trusting you to do something. And I can remember when someone was having an issue with some bracelets they were selling, and they had a question about getting feedback from an audience, or from the people who purchased or whatever. And I could really tell that it was kind of a thorn in their side. And they really wanted to get back to it, but they were having some issues with particular vendor, right? I could tell that too. And so there's a lady that y'all see me. I got my people that I buy from. So there's a woman that I buy these bracelets from, right? And she's actually doing the bracelets wholesale now. So she's teaching people how to do what she does, right, with the bracelets and with her jewelry line or what have you. And she has enough inventory to where she can offer boxes wholesale. So you can get like 75 pieces for 200 or 90 pieces of like ones like this with the charms for 500. And I'm adding money up. I said, oh, that's good money. I might start doing that. But don't miss it. If y'all start seeing it, don't miss it. But I told somebody, that same person immediately came to mind, not just out of the blue. God did that because God knew there was this connection. And I reached out and I said, hey, you might want to think about, checking out what she's doing. I know you really are into the charm bracelets and things like that. And she has a great deal. And the answer I got back was, well, I haven't been released yet. I think that me going to her was the release. Mm. Here's the blessing. Mm-hmm. Here's the moment, right? When I get released to do that. And to me, that can trap you if you're not careful. And it again, it's irresponsibility on some. I'm not saying she was irresponsible because maybe it's not time. But to say I haven't been released is dangerous because you are released. Through righteousness and through grace, you are released to move in those things. Like I said, don't be shocked if y'all see this because me and God been having whole conversations around these bracelets.
But Latara, you just reminded me of the joke or the saying, and help me with this, guys, if you recall it, about the guy that was praying for help. He was on top of a roof, mm-hmm. and he was praying for help.
Yes.
And he kept asking the Lord, please send someone to save me. And a guy came by with a canoe, a guy came by with a helicopter, all these different sources came by offering to help him. And the guy said, no, I'm waiting on God. He felt like he wasn't released, right? Mm-hmm. I'm waiting on God. And then he drowned and went to heaven. And he's like, Lord, what happened? I prayed to you all this time. And he said, I sent you 5 different things. What do you want?
Yeah.
Right?
Tell me what you want me to do.
Right.
Listen, if y'all haven't heard that, go listen to Tell Me What You Want Me to Do. I'm not going to sing it right now, okay? And there's a part that says, my heart is in your hands. So tell me what you want me to do. And that's just how much God loves us. And as we have a relationship, wants us to mature in him, not out of duty,
right?
But it's a wonderful place to be. So this was such a good conversation. I wasn't expecting this, but man, this was a good conversation. I had all kinds of questions lined up and everything. And
we even didn't get to the specialist segment today at all.
There was no specialist segment.
Oh,
today.
I thought there was.
So,
I'm sorry.
No, there would have been, but there was not any for today. So,
okay.
But we will have one for next week. All right. So I want to thank you all for joining me. I appreciate you, man. We appreciate you. This was really good. Every perspective was heard today. I love it because we have so many different age groups or generations. We into generations now. Generation Z, Generation X. What's it going to be? Generation
Y, Z, LOP.
And
1, 2, 3, 4,
boomers
5
over here.
right?
Okay, don't forget the boomers.
Red, white, and blue.
You have the boomers. You have the millennials. You have let's see, Brandon, you're a millennial, so we don't go into the millennial, right? You have the Z's, the X's rather, me, Michelle, and Phil, and great conversation. So on time. Listen, you guys, if you're listening to this and you know somebody needs to hear this, share this out. This was a great conversation. We're going to have more impromptu. This was impromptu, y'all. I'm telling y'all right now. I just asked a question and we just went.
See what happens?
See what happens? We just went. So again, thank you guys so much for joining us. We will see you all next week.